I was yelling at the TV before the first game ever started last Thursday. Aztecs, College of Charleston. Just think about this. On your TV screen, from left to right, Greg Gumbel, Clark Kellogg, Kenny Smith, Charles Barkley. They get to the San Diego State College of Charleston game, which is about to tip off on CBS, and they started to talk. Not one sentence, not one mention, not one word, not one storyline involving San Diego State. All four of those guys spent the entire 90 seconds previewing College of Charleston, the coach, the three-point shooters, and the university. Rodney Dangerfield would have had a field day with these characters. No respect at all. How is that humanly possible that four smart guys covering college basketball pay no attention to the guys out here on the left coast and what San Diego State did in metrics, what it did against a really high-powered schedule, what it did with its defense? Not one guy had one word to say about San Diego State. It was all about COC. That was on Thursday. I was barking at the TV and the game hadn't even started. Refs hadn't made their first bad call. By the time they got to Saturday, all four guys on the set, all they were talking about was the red and black. Like, where did these guys come from? How do they get so good? Just absolutely amazing. Just absolutely stunned me. Okay, let's talk about the Aztecs' victory. Vice grip defense. It's a pretty good description of what San Diego State's defense did to College of Charleston and then what they did to the Furman Paladins. Think about this. College of Charleston was averaging 80 per game, averaging 10 three-point baskets made per game, 30 three-point shots per game. When San Diego State was done with those guys, COC shot 30% from the floor, 29% from the arc, and got killed. Then the Furman game, same storyline. Paladins lighting people up with the three-point shots, not intimidated, End result, San Diego State held them to 30% shooting, 29% from the arc. Paladins went 11 and a half minutes without a basket. Wow. Furman went 14 straight possessions without a basket. San Diego State's bigs had 44 rebounds in the game. They were absolutely phenomenal. Aztecs move on to the Sweet 16. And by the way, another point of reference, if we go back to early November when the college basketball season started, this host in this chair made this statement, potential to be Sweet 16. Where are the Aztecs going? Sweet 16, Louisville, Friday against Alabama. Here's the podium. It belongs to you. Am I right? I am right. I am bleeping brilliant. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're bleeping brilliant. You said they were Sweet 16. You said this was a 30-win team, but then you also called them a Jekyll and Hyde team, a team that you couldn't figure out. And the greatest thing about what's happening with the Aztecs is that it's always someone new. It's a different guy every time. The last game was Parrish, had a great game. Suddenly, Darion Trammell found the hot stroke. He was playing well. It's incredible. But to your point on those announcers, I think a lot of them, they're the East Coast bias. I mean, Charles Barkley doesn't know anything about the Aztecs. I mean, he probably didn't know anything about them until he saw them playing in that game against Furman. And that's when he made that statement. It's like a bunch of college kids playing grown men. The only ones that seem to be on that crew that know much about the Aztecs are guys like Wally Zerbiak or John Rothstein that have been part of that CBS Sports Network package. So now America's waking up to what Brian Dutcher is doing, and the Aztecs are in the limelight for a bit.
29-7, they're going to go play Alabama. Let's talk about UCLA. They have survived at this point the loss of Jalen Clark, their top defender, Pac-12 Defender of the Year in the conference. They're shooting the ball. They're stroking the ball. They got a bunch of guys contributing. What they have to do is they have to make sure they distribute the ball so that UCLA's offense is just not Jaime Jaquez and Tiger Campbell. Although Jaquez had 24 points in their win to get him to the Sweet 16. And Tiger went to the free throw line, and dude went 12 for 12, which is absolutely amazing. And the freshman that I talked about a couple of weeks ago, Amir Bailey, they got to get him more into the touch rotation so he can take more shots. He had 14 points in this game, 18 points the game before. And UCLA just continues to bang on you. They wear you out because they make every possession hard, and they grind on you when they have the basketball at the other end working to get a good shot. This is a pretty good basketball team, but 31-5. And what's ahead right there in the spotlight? Gonzaga. And Drew Timme is carrying that team. Well, he's got pretty good support talent. Mark Few is just one of the brilliant coaches in the country that, again, I don't think a heck of a lot of people nationwide pay much attention to what's going on in Spokane. But tell you what, UCLA versus the Zags, that's going to be a good game.
Yeah, that's going to be all right. So, but as far as UCLA goes, I mean, they've been given a lot of shout outs to Jalen Clark. You know, he's been injured. They're calling him the best defender in the Pac-12, maybe the best lockdown defender in the entire nation. And he's not going to be there. So it makes you wonder, are the Bruins going to have all their pieces? You know, when they're missing a few, are they still going to be competitive?
It's going to be an enormous challenge. Now, they're not going to go against a Gonzaga team that's huge. There's not a bunch of 7-footers across the line or guys that jump through the roof. So, you know, they legitimately have a chance. And I do think this game will be like bone on bone. I think it's going to be a really rugged game. There'll be lots of fouls. I think it's just going to be a hard game to watch because there'll be a lot of starts, stops, and spurts. One other game in the Sweet 16 that just fascinates me no end is going to be that loudmouth from Little Rock and Fayetteville talking about Eric Musselman, Arkansas, against the brute strength of all those European and African recruits at Georgetown, or that UConn has. Arkansas, UConn, holy cow. Take no prisoners there. That's going to be an interesting game. That's probably the other really marquee game that I'm really looking for when we get to Thursday for the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like I said, I have this love-hate relationship with Eric Musselman, but how about him, like, after the game, getting up on the table, taking his shirt off and flipping it around, and you're like, on one level, you're like, okay, dude's fired up, but on the other hand, you know, like Brian Dutcher says, I take no personal credit for this. It's all about the kids. And Musselman is the exact opposite. But I'll still be rooting for him because if nothing else, his team is entertaining.
Well, they are entertaining, and they're going to play big boys. And UConn, that's big boy basketball. You talk about revitalization of a program. Okay, on we go to